Welcome to my channel Grow Joyfully. Many of you may be doing aerobic composting already and wondering why we should learn and practice Bokashi as well. So in the second video in the 6-part series, I will start the discussion with a comparison of the two techniques. I will also talk about the benefits we reap and the costs we incur when we practice Bokashi. I'll also state a few concerns typically expressed by people and explain how to handle them. I have been doing indoor aerobic composting for many years before I started on Bokashi. This experience really helped me a lot to compare and contrast the two techniques. So I suggest a prior experience of completing at least 3 to 5 batches of aerobic composting before you embark on Bokashi. Such experience will come in very handy to understand and practice Bokashi process very effectively. Let's compare and contrast aerobic composting and Bokashi. In aerobic composting, decomposition of the kitchen waste is done by aerobic bacteria in a bin that facilitates air circulation. In Bokashi, in stage 1, fermentation happens in anaerobic environment in an airtight container, and in stage 2, decomposition of the pickle happens in aerobic ambience. The traditional aerobic composting method does not handle decomposition of dairy products, non-vegetarian kitchen waste and solid cooked food, whereas Bokashi can handle all these very effectively. With greens coming from the kitchen, browns are also required in aerobic composting for the decomposition to happen. I use dry leaves typically. In Bokashi stage 1, we require the kitchen waste and we lace it with Bokashi bran. We don't require any browns. Depending on the choice that we make in stage 2, we either require browns or old potting mix or old soil. In aerobic composting, regular stirring of the entire mix comprising of the greens and browns is a must. This is required in order to prevent the matting of the mix and to ensure air circulation within the bin. In Bokashi, stage 1, no stirring is required. Very minimal or no stirring is required in stage 2, depending upon the choice you make. The near zero cost aerobic composting, where I use dry leaves as browns, without any extra support like inoculated cocoa peats, remix powder, etc., takes me around 2 to 3 months. In Bokashi, once you fill the bin, a batch can easily be completed in 5 to 6 weeks to harvest the black gold, depending on the choice you make in stage 2. Why do I consider Bokashi as a boon for an urban farmer like me doing container gardening on the terrace? I continue to practice the traditional near zero cost aerobic composting along with Bokashi. I clearly see that Bokashi process is faster. It saves at least a month for me for every batch. That I can compost solid cooked food waste and solid dairy waste without sending to the landfill is also a plus point for me. Being a vegetarian, I do not generate any non-vegetarian kitchen waste, but I think for those who do so, Bokashi is indeed of great help and convenience because we can compost non-vegetarian kitchen waste and generate nutrition-rich compost. I find Bokashi particularly appealing when I do composting in the indoor urban context. The bin can conveniently be kept in the kitchen. There's no smell at all as long as the bin is closed. There's no scope for pests getting in. And the bin also calls for less space. And not having to stir the mix regularly is also a big relief. In container gardening, I always used to have this dilemma. Once I grow some vegetable plants and they complete their life cycle, how do I rejuvenate my old potting mix? I find Bokashi providing a very effective solution for this particular point. It's a hassle-free solution also for me, easy to do. Bokashi facilitates direct layering of the pickle with the old potting mix in stage 2. And by far, this is the biggest takeaway for me, and I will continue to do Bokashi composting. There is an one-time cost involved in Bokashi Stage 1. You need to buy or design an airtight bin with spigot. Depending upon the amount of kitchen waste you have, you need to plan the number of bins. Associated with Stage 1 is a recurring cost of Bokashi brand. Every time you add kitchen waste, you need to lace it with Bokashi brand. Here again, you may buy it or you may make it yourself. For Stage 2, we require aerated containers similar to what we use in aerobic composting. If you are doing direct layering, you can use your grow bags or the containers in which you grow plants as well. There are a few reasons which deter people from Bokashi. The Bokashi brand as a recurring cost is a matter of concern for many. My response here is that Bokashi brand making is not a rocket science. It's easy to do, and you can definitely minimize the cost by doing it at home. I will explain the Bokashi brand making process in a subsequent video. Some people perceive the two-step process as very complicated. Well, every technique has some requirements and we need to follow them diligently. I will address this point by explaining Stage 1 and Stage 2 process in detail in two separate videos. I have observed many people starting with Bokashi with a lot of enthusiasm but giving up very fast. This is mainly because of the unbearable, obnoxious stench that emanates from the pickle in their bins in Stage 1. This becomes a bitter, nightmarish experience for many people and they don't want to touch the Bokashi bin again. Except for a couple of batches initially, I have not faced this problem at all. I think staying aligned with the process requirements, which are totally different in Stage 1 and Stage 2, is the solution for this particular problem. It calls for understanding the process threadbare, and I will share troubleshooting techniques, tips and tricks in a separate video. In my setup, I have 14 Bokashi bins kept indoor. Whenever I get access to large-scale kitchen waste, I fill 2 to 3 Bokashi bins per week. 6 to 8 of the bins will be in the resting phase typically, waiting for Stage 2. With experience and diligent following of the process, I find every batch succeeding now. I request you to learn Bokashi with an open mind, evaluate the costs and benefits, take up Bokashi if you find benefits outweighing the costs. With this brief introduction on Bokashi, we are ready to embark on our joyful Bokashi journey. In my next video, I will explain about Stage 1 and demonstrate how I practice the process. Thank you for watching my videos. Have a great day.